Let's finish up Chapter 8. Every February, Steamboat Springs held a winter carnival, and we looked forward to it. The drive over was a long one, on a winding dirt road that meandered around Green Mountain Dam to Kremling and on US 40 over Rabbit Ears Pass. The boys jumped besides racing in the slalom, so it was a 2-day affair. We all wanted to see the night show on Steamboat's famous Howson Mountain with ski jumping through fire-burning hoops. Also, that fellow from Utah who would ski down the hill with fireworks shooting from his headgear. Sunday afternoon jumping on the big hill drew crowds from all over. Since all accommodations in town were taken, the ski club mothers arranged housing for us and the kids we brought along. The jury room of the courthouse was our favorite. Here they put up double-deck army bunks, complete with bedding and blankets. The children loved having the whole place to themselves and would climb up into the judge's imposing chair and hold court. There would be a big town banquet on Sunday night with almost every entrant receiving a prize. Eleanor and Joe Ganghung and Sonny and Rolf began to accept racing as a normal part of skiing. In fact, Sonny told me that she thought everybody in the world skied. It wasn't until she was almost 10 when we visited Minnesota that she found out differently. Having to wait around at the finish at Steamboat was a drag, so I thought, I'll enter the race too. Again, I was accepted at my tottering old age. It was in 1953 that Skeeter Werner asked me how old I was. When I told her 39, she exclaimed, "And you're still skiing?" And someone else chimed in, "And let alone trying to race?" Well, that made me wonder, what am I doing here? But it was just too much fun to drop it all. The Rocky Mountain Division of the U.S. Ski Association decided to have racers classified into A, B, or C classes. One could enter a C race, and if one did well, he could move up into the B class, and so on. Willie Schaffler often brought his Denver University ski team up to Arapahoe. He never discouraged me from joining in the slalom training. I learned so much from him that soon after winning enough races, I had my B card and then my A. Going out of the starting gate faster and approaching the gates closer both helped tremendously. By holding a stopwatch on us, he made us strive even harder to peel off the seconds. Even though I had won a number of medals, I'd never gotten over the thrill of taking home a gold one. In early March of 1953, the divisional downhill and slalom races were at Winter Park. Even to this day, I look with fear at that downhill course with that long shush from Norwegian Cutoff and then the race down the entire Hughes. I remember my thigh muscles burning. That long last shush still lay ahead of me. It was the most frightening and difficult downhill I had ever raced. Buddy Werner came, seeing my exhaustion at the end of the race, came over to me and said, "Look, Edna, there are sections on that course where you can relax. That traverse before the last shush isn't so steep, so relax. A good way is to feel loose in the wrists, almost limp. Breathe deep in through the nose and out through the mouth. Then you'll be ready to attack that shush." He was right, and it worked. And I got second in the combined. What a neat way to end the racing season, I thought. Monday morning, while I was cooking breakfast for the guests, the phone rang. One of the guests answered it, and all of a sudden from the dining room came a great cheer. Edna, Edna, come out here. I wiped my hands on my apron and peered around the door. What's going on? You've been invited to race in the Nationals at Aspen this week, they shouted at me. Congratulations, honey, Max was all smiles. Since you got second in the divisionals, you are automatically invited to participate in the Nationals. And you have to leave right away, the guest who answered the phone informed me. Tomorrow they start practicing on the giant slalom. I'll go with you to keep you company driving over, our only ski bum, Dory, enthusiastically announced. She was our girl Friday, who made beds, waited tables, cleaned the johns, made the salads, and was learning to ski. Hazel, our cook, can get a girl from Dylan to help in the kitchen, said Max. And we'll all make our own beds, the guests chimed in. We took off that afternoon with my trusty old 7-foot wooden skis. Our good friends, Tony and Ilsa Warndl from Garmisch, had bought an old farmhouse for a ski lodge at the east end of Aspen. That would be where we would stay. We had a small room, no heat, an old iron double bed, but it was all very inexpensive. Everyone pitched in to help, which was a little confusing to Ilsa, but made me feel right at home. The first day, we were told we could run the giant slalom for practice. It was icy, hard-packed, and wide open down Ruthie's Run. There were all kinds of young ski racers, including Andrea Meade Lawrence, Katie Rudolph, Jeanette Burr, and Skeeter Werner were all there. I wondered, what was I doing amongst these youngsters, veterans of the '52 Olympics in Oslo? The icy giant slalom didn't help any. I could hear the scratch and bite of their skis long after they were out of sight as they tore down through the gates. I wanted to turn and go the other way, but I had no choice. Up at Arapahoe, we had nothing but powder snow at our high altitude. I'd not heard skis scrape on ice since we were in California. The race was a nightmare for me, and I came in next to last. At least I wasn't last, and maybe the next day the downhill would be better. Lovely Dory had found friends, some former ski tip guests, who happily showed her the town. I would go to bed in the cold, cold room and try to sleep while running the downhill through my mind. When Dory climbed in at 2 or 3 a.m., she said, "Gee, you're still awake? Don't think of that race. Go to sleep." So I'd lie awake the rest of the night. It was snowing heavily the next morning, which delayed the start. I prayed it would snow forever and they'd have to cancel the whole thing. No such luck. The snow stopped before noon. Everyone had foot-packed the course, and the racers were ready to start. When I reached the second gate in my race, it seemed to come up out of the snow and whack me around. The gates were heavy, 1-inch square wooden poles. To me, they felt and looked like 2x4s. I got up and somehow in my glazy-eyed nightmare state, found the finish at the bottom of Spar Gulch. Willie Schaffler, racing too, came up to me the morning of the slalom. "Edna, just think you're back practicing slalom at Arapahoe," he said with his German accent. "It's an easy slalom." And it was easy, short and familiar. I ended up in the first 10 in the combine and got a sixth in my first slalom run. Did I ever sleep well that night? Meanwhile, back at the ranch, the cook Hazel had threatened to quit, but the young girl Max had located from Dylan, who was eager to make a little extra money, was a gem. Hazel was appeased. She announced to me the morning we returned home from Aspen, "Why, that girl saved me from having to wash the extra forks for the dessert." When we had pie, she told all the guests, as she was removing their dinner plates, "Hold your forks, folks, hold your forks." I laughed while I pictured our sophisticated Chicago guests holding their forks in the air and wondering, what now?